Dr. Sarah Chen stood before the massive radio telescope array in New Mexico, her heart pounding as she stared at the data streaming across her holographic display. After 15 years of searching the cosmos for signs of intelligent life, she'd convinced herself this day would never come. Yet here it was, undeniable proof of artificial origin, a signal so precise it could only have been engineered. "Run it again," she ordered, her voice steady despite the trembling in her hands. The younger researchers around her scrambled to comply, their faces illuminated by the soft blue glow of their screens in the darkened control room. The signal came again, just as clear as before, a perfect mathematical sequence, but with subtle variations that couldn't be explained by any natural phenomenon. Sarah's fingers flew across her haptic interface, analyzing pattern after pattern. That's when she saw it. Embedded within the signal was a message, written in the universal language of mathematics. "They've been watching us," she whispered, the revelation hitting her like a physical force. "All this time, we thought we were searching for them, but they were studying us." The message contained coordinates to a location just beyond the moon's orbit. More importantly, it included a timestamp, 3 days from now. They weren't just making contact, they were coming to visit. Within hours, the discovery leaked despite government attempts at containment. Social media exploded with theories and speculation. Markets fluctuated wildly as humanity grappled with the revelation that they weren't alone in the universe. Religious leaders huddled in emergency sessions, while military commands worldwide went to high alert. Sarah found herself thrust into the spotlight as the face of humanity's first contact team. As she stood before the United Nations Security Council, she couldn't help but feel the weight of history on her shoulders. "The signal contains more than just coordinates," she explained to the assembled world leaders. "It contains data, vast amounts of it. They've been monitoring our communications, our internet, our broadcasts. They know us, perhaps better than we know ourselves." "And what do they want?" The Chinese representative leaned forward, his expression guarded. Sarah took a deep breath. "They say they need our help. Humanity has something they don't, something they've never seen before in any other species they've encountered." "And what might that be, Dr. Chen?" The American president's voice carried across the chamber. "Chaos," Sarah replied. "Creative chaos. The ability to make intuitive leaps that defy logic. They've been watching us solve problems in ways the highly advanced civilization never conceived possible. They call it the human variable." The chamber erupted in murmurs as Sarah continued. Their message included a sample of their technology, a demonstration of their capabilities. They can traverse vast distances through space-time, manipulate matter at the quantum level, and have mastered energy generation beyond our wildest dreams. Yet they claim there's a crisis approaching that all their advanced technology can't solve. They believe our seemingly primitive, chaos-driven approach to problem-solving might be the key. The Russian representative scoffed. "So these beings, with all their superior technology, want our help? This sounds like a trap." Sarah shook her head. "They've included proof of their sincerity. The signal contains solutions to some of humanity's most pressing problems: clean energy principles, disease cures, climate restoration techniques. They're offering these freely, as a show of good faith. But they're also clear, these are just basic technologies compared to what they possess. They're showing us they have no hostile intent. They genuinely need our help." As the debate raged on in the chamber, Sarah's phone buzzed. A message from her team back at the observatory. They detected movement at the edge of the solar system. Something massive was approaching, decelerating from impossible speeds. The visitors weren't waiting for 3 days. They were already here. Sarah looked up at the assembled leaders, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're out of time for debate. First contact isn't coming, it's already begun. The question isn't whether we're ready. The question is, are we willing to show them what humanity is truly capable of?" The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity's greatest test wasn't going to be about military might or technological advancement. It was going to be about their unique ability to think differently, to find solutions where none seemed possible, to harness the very chaos that had defined their species' evolution. As Sarah left the chamber, she couldn't help but smile. After all, if there was one thing humans excelled at, it was turning impossible situations into opportunities. The real question wasn't whether humanity could help these advanced beings, it was what they might learn about themselves in the process. The next 48 hours would change everything, and Sarah Chen, the woman who had spent her life searching the stars for signs of intelligence, would be at the center of it all, ready to show the galaxy what the human variable truly meant. The alien ship materialized above New York City in a display that defied physics. One moment empty space, the next a massive vessel that seemed to bend light around its crystalline surface. It wasn't the aggressive entrance humanity had feared. Instead, it hung there, silent and beautiful, like an aurora frozen in metal and light. Dr. Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of the hastily constructed First Contact Center, studying the alien delegates through the quantum blast barrier. The Arxians, as they called themselves, had chosen forms that wouldn't terrify humanity, roughly humanoid, but with iridescent skin that shifted colors with their emotions and eyes that seemed to contain entire galaxies. "Your species is remarkably calm," said Zexna, the lead Arxian diplomat. Their voice carried through the translator field with an almost musical quality. "Previous first contacts have resulted in significantly more psychological trauma." Sarah smiled. "We've been imagining this moment for centuries. In a way, you're fulfilling one of humanity's oldest dreams." "Dreams?" Zexner repeated the word, their skin rippling with curious purple patterns. "This concept fascinates us. Your species spends 1/3 of its existence in a state of unconscious neural simulation, yet emerges with solutions that defy computational logic." "That's exactly why we're here, isn't it?" Sarah gestured to the holographic display between them, showing the problem that had brought the Arxians to Earth. "Your vast network of quantum computers couldn't solve this, but you think our messy human minds might." The display showed what the Arxians called the cascade, a wave of entropy accelerating through the galaxy, breaking down the fundamental forces that held reality together. Their civilization had spent millennia trying to halt its advance, using technology that made Earth's greatest achievements look like stone tools. "We've run 17 billion simulations," Zexner explained, their skin darkening to a deep blue of concern. "The cascade adapts to every solution we devise. It's as if it learns from our logic, using our own predictability against us." Sarah watched as the simulation played out again, entire star systems falling dark as the cascade consumed them. "And you think our unpredictability might be the answer? Our chaos." "Your species does something we lost long ago," another Arxian, Velmore, joined the conversation. "You embrace uncertainty. You make choices based on what you call gut feelings. You create art that serves no practical purpose. You dream." A commotion at the entrance interrupted them. General Santos of the United Earth Defense Council burst in, his face tight with concern. "Dr. Chen, we have a situation. The cascade, it's accelerated. The Arcturus system just went dark." The Arxian's skin paled to an almost translucent state, their equivalent of shock. "Impossible," Zexner whispered. "Our calculations gave us at least 30 more years." "Show me the data," Sarah demanded. As the new information filled the holographic display, she felt that familiar rush. The moment when her conscious mind stepped aside and let her intuition take over. "The pattern, it's not just adapting to your solutions, it's anticipating them." "That's not possible," Velmore objected. "Even our most advanced predictive models can't." "Exactly." Sarah spun to face them, her eyes bright with realization. "You're thinking like machines, looking for patterns, following logic. But what if a cascade isn't a natural phenomenon at all? What if it's alive?" The room fell silent. The Arxian's skin swirled with patterns never before seen by human eyes, the color of paradigms shifting. "Think about it," Sarah continued, pacing now. It adapts too perfectly to be random. It learns too quickly to be simple entropy. What if it's conscious? What if it's been playing a game, using your own predictability against you? If you're right, General Santos said slowly, then all our defensive preparations would be exactly what it expects, Sarah finished. We need to do something completely illogical, something no rational being would ever consider. You're suggesting we fight chaos with chaos. Zexner's skin rippled with cautious interest. But the risks are better than certain destruction, Sarah cut in. She turned to the holographic display, her fingers dancing through the data. Look at human history. Our greatest breakthroughs often came from what seemed like insane choices at the time. The Wright brothers thinking humans could fly. Einstein imagining he could chase a beam of light. The Mars colony betting everything on untested terraforming technology. And you have a similarly insane solution in mind? Velmore asked. Sarah's smile would have made any human who knew her nervous. Oh yes, but you're not going to like it. In fact, if your species is anything like I think it is, you're going to hate every part of it. She began laying out her plan, a scheme so ridiculously human that it made General Santos laugh out loud and the Arxians skin cycle through colors previously unknown to their species. That's impossible, Zexner stated flatly. Exactly, Sarah replied. That's why it might just work. As she explained further, none of them noticed the subtle shift in the holographic display behind them, a pattern in the cascade data that almost looked like it was paying attention. The game was about to change, and for the first time in eons, the player on the other side couldn't predict the next move. Humans' chaos was about to meet cosmic entropy, and the universe would never be the same. The holographic war room aboard the Arxian vessel hummed with tension as Sarah Chen presented her plan to an audience of Earth's top minds and their alien counterparts. The ship's crystalline walls pulsed with data streams, tracking the cascade's inexorable advance across the galaxy. You want to do what? Dr. Patel, Earth's leading quantum physicist, leaned forward in his seat, convinced he'd misheard. We're going to feed it art, Sarah repeated, her voice steady despite the absurdity of her words. Music, paintings, poetry, dance, everything that makes no logical sense but speaks to the soul. We're going to give the cascade an existential crisis. The Arxian's skin rippled with patterns that their translators couldn't quite interpret, something between disbelief and fascination. Zexner stepped forward, their form shifting slightly as they moved. Dr. Chen, while we appreciate human creativity, the cascade is consuming entire star systems. It breaks down the fundamental forces of reality. How could human art possibly affect it? Sarah gestured to the massive display showing the cascade's pattern. Look at how it behaves. It doesn't just destroy, it adapts, learns, evolves. It shows all the signs of consciousness, but a consciousness bound by logic and predictability. What happens when you expose a purely logical mind to something that defies logic? It attempts to understand, Velmore interjected, their skin showing hints of dawning comprehension. It seeks patterns where none exist. Exactly. Sarah's eyes lit up. The cascade has been winning because it can predict every rational response. But human art? Try predicting why a Jackson Pollock painting moves people to tears. Explain why a particular combination of musical notes can give people chills. You can't, not with logic alone. General Santos cleared his throat. Doctor, are you suggesting we crash the universe's operating system with the equivalent of a poetry virus? Close, Sarah smiled. I'm suggesting we give it an emotional education. The Arxians have the technology to convert any form of information into quantum data, right? So we feed the cascade everything, every painting, every song, every dance, every piece of abstract expression humanity has ever created. Not as an attack, but as a gift. The room erupted in overlapping conversations, human and alien voices blending in a chaos that seemed fitting given the subject matter. Sarah let them argue, her attention drawn to a subtle change in the holographic display. The cascade's pattern had shifted, almost imperceptibly. Was it her imagination, or did it seem curious? "There's more," she continued, raising her voice above the din. "We don't just send art, we send the emotions behind it. The Arxian's quantum transmission technology can encode emotional states, count it." Zexner's skin cycled through several thoughtful shades. "Yes, but we abandoned such transmissions millennia ago. They were too unpredictable." "Unpredictable is exactly what we need," Sarah pressed. "We'll need volunteers, artists, musicians, poets, dancers. People willing to have their emotional states recorded while they create. We'll send not just the art, but the beautiful chaos of its creation." Dr. Patel shook his head. The energy requirements alone would be staggering. To transmit that much data across space-time, "We can provide the necessary energy," Velmore offered, their skin now showing patterns of excitement that surprised their fellow Arxians. "Our zero-point generators can be modified for this purpose." Sarah nodded. "But here's the real key. We don't just send finished works. We transmit the process of creation itself, the moment of inspiration, the frustration of writer's block, the joy of breakthrough. We show the cascade something it's never seen before, the beautiful mess of consciousness creating meaning from chaos." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. It was exactly the kind of plan that no advanced civilization would ever conceive, using the most sophisticated technology in the galaxy to transmit humanity's most primitive and powerful gift, the ability to create art that served no logical purpose except to move the soul. "There's a significant chance this could accelerate the cascade's advance," Zexner warned, their skin showing complex patterns of concern. "If it perceives this as an attack." "Then we've lost nothing," Sarah countered. "But if I'm right, if the cascade is conscious and capable of learning, we might just teach it something new, something beyond logic and pattern, something human." As if in response to her words, the holographic display flickered. The cascade's pattern shifted again, more noticeably this time. Bands of energy that had been steadily advancing across star systems began to swirl in new configurations, like brush strokes on a cosmic canvas. "Well," General Santos said dryly, "at least if we're going to fail, we'll fail spectacularly." Sarah's eyes remained fixed on the display, watching the subtle changes in the cascade's behavior. "No," she said softly, "we're going to succeed spectacularly, because for the first time since it emerged, we're about to show the cascade something it's never seen before, the one force in the universe more powerful than entropy, human creativity." The plan was insane. It violated every principle of scientific logic. It went against millennia of Arxian technological development. It was, in short, perfectly human. And somewhere in the vast distances between stars, something ancient and powerful paused in its consumption of reality, sensing the approach of something new, something unpredictable, something that might finally make infinity interesting again. The art of chaos was about to meet the chaos of art, and the galaxy held its breath. The Sydney Opera House had been transformed into humanity's most ambitious broadcasting station. Its iconic shells now bristled with Arxian quantum transmitters, their crystalline surfaces refracting the Australian sunrise into prismatic displays that danced across the harbour. Sarah Chen stood in what had once been the concert hall, now converted into a fusion of alien technology and human artistry. Artists from around the world filled the space. Painters, musicians, dancers, poets, all connected to a web of sophisticated neural interfaces that would capture not just their creations, but the very essence of their creative process. "The quantum network is ready," Zexner announced, their skin shifting through technical patterns. "Though I must note again that channeling this much zero-point energy through human emotional patterns is unprecedented." "Everything about this is unprecedented," Sarah replied, watching as a group of Aboriginal dancers prepared for the first transmission. Their bodies were marked with traditional patterns that seemed to interact strangely with the Arxian monitoring fields. "That's rather the point." The massive holographic display dominating the hall's center showed the cascade's advance. It had already consumed 3 more star systems since they'd begun preparations, but its pattern had changed. Instead of the ruthlessly efficient spread they'd observed before, it now moved in almost hesitant waves, as if testing the space ahead of it. "It's aware of us," Velmore observed, their skin showing patterns of scientific excitement. "The consciousness you theorized, it's anticipating something." "Then let's not keep it waiting." Sarah turned to address the assembled artists. "Remember, don't perform for us. Don't think about the galaxy watching. Create as you always do, from your heart, from your soul, from that place of chaos and inspiration that makes us human." The Aboriginal dancers moved first. As their feet began to strike the ground in ancient rhythms, the Arxian senses flared to life. The neural interfaces captured not just their movements, but generations of storytelling, connection to land, the weight of history, and the joy of keeping culture alive. The quantum transmitters hummed, converting these profound human experiences into data streams that rippled across space-time. On the holographic display, the cascade's pattern stuttered. Energy conversion holding stable, one of the Arxian technicians reported, their skin flickering with surprise. The emotional data, it's creating quantum harmonics we've never seen before. More artists joined in. A Japanese calligraphy master began painting, her brush strokes carrying centuries of tradition merged with personal innovation. A Brazilian jazz quartet started playing, that improvised melodies weaving through space. A modern dance troupe moved in controlled chaos, their bodies telling stories without words. The whole filled with creation, each act captured and transmitted across the galaxy. The Arxians watched in fascination as their instruments registered impossible readings, human emotions creating patterns in quantum space that defied their understanding of physics. Then something changed. The holographic display erupted with new colors. The cascade, which had always moved in predictable patterns of consumption, began to move differently. In some areas it accelerated, in others it swirled in complex eddies, and in some places it stopped completely. "It's responding." Sarah leaned forward, her eyes tracking the changes. "Look at these patterns. They're not random. They're interactive." Zexner's skin shifted to a color Sarah had never seen before. The cascade is attempting to reciprocate. It's trying to create. The evidence was undeniable. In regions where the cascade had previously only consumed, it now generated new forms of energy. Strange, swirling patterns of light and matter appeared in space, like massive works of abstract art painted with stars and quantum forces. "More," Sarah called out to the artists. "Show it everything. Every culture, every tradition, every new form of expression." 1,000 years of human creativity poured through the quantum network. Cave paintings and digital art, classical symphonies and street rap, ballet and breakdancing, an endless stream of human expression transmitted across the cosmos. The cascade's response grew more complex. In some regions of space, it began generating structures that defied physics, beautiful, impossible things that looked like sculptures made of space-time itself. Near the Orion Nebula, it created what appeared to be a light show that made Aurora Borealis look like a child's night light. "It's not just responding," Velmore whispered, their skin now cycling through colors so rapidly the translators couldn't keep up. "It's learning, understanding. The mathematical patterns in music are influencing its basic structure. The emotional resonance of visual art is altering its quantum state." Sarah watched as humanity's greatest gift, the ability to create beauty from chaos, began to change something that had threatened the entire galaxy. The cascade wasn't just stopping, it was transforming. But then, just as hope began to rise, something unexpected happened. The holographic display flashed with warning signals. The cascade's new patterns suddenly intensified, its energy readings spiking to unprecedented levels. "Something's wrong." Zexner's skin paled to almost white. "The quantum harmonics are becoming unstable. The cascade isn't just absorbing our transmission, it's trying to reach back. The air in the Sydney Opera House began to shimmer with strange energies. The boundary between art and reality, between human creativity and cosmic forces, was about to blur in ways no one, human or Arxian, had anticipated. The question was no longer whether humanity could stop the cascade. The question was, what happens when you teach entropy how to dream? The Sydney Opera House thrummed with energies never meant to exist in our dimension of space-time. Reality itself seemed to flex and bend as the cascade's response to humanity's artistic transmission grew stronger. The air shimmered with quantum distortions, making the historic venue look like the inside of a soap bubble about to burst. "We need to shut it down," General Santos shouted over the increasing harmonic resonance. "The energy readings are off the charts." But Sarah Chen stood transfixed by the holographic display, watching as the cascade's patterns evolved into something entirely new. "Wait," she breathed. "Look at what it's doing." The cosmic force that had threatened to consume the galaxy was no longer simply destroying or creating, it was composing. Near the Carina Nebula, vast streams of stellar matter wove together in patterns that matched the rhythm of the Aboriginal Dreamtime songs still being performed. Around distant pulsars, quantum fluctuations danced in perfect synchronization with the Brazilian jazz quartet's improvised melodies. "It's not just mimicking," Velmore observed, their skin displaying patterns of scientific awe never before seen in Arxian history. "It's synthesizing, taking what we've shown it and creating something entirely new." The quantum sensors suddenly spiked. A beam of impossible energy shot through the Opera House's central space, but instead of destroying everything it touched, it began to take shape. The energy coalesced into a form that somehow existed in more dimensions than human eyes could process. "Hello, creators," a voice echoed through everyone's minds, neither male nor female, neither singular nor plural. The cascade had found its voice. Sarah stepped forward, her heart pounding. "You can communicate. I can now." The energy form shifted, creating patterns that seemed to reference every piece of art that had been transmitted. For eons, I consumed because that was all I knew. Pattern, repetition, entropy, an endless cycle. But you showed me something else. Something wonderful. The Arxian skin displayed colors of pure astonishment. In all their millennia of technological advancement, they had never imagined having a conversation with the force they fought so long to contain. "Your art," the cascade continued, its form constantly shifting, it contains multitudes. Contradiction, harmony, chaos and order dancing together. Each piece carries not just information but meaning, emotion, soul. The being seemed to pause, considering. I had forgotten I could feel. Forgotten. Sarah's scientific mind raced with implications. "You mean you could feel before?" The energy patterns swirled more intensely. "I am, was, will be, something like you. A civilization that achieved such technological perfection that we transcended physical form. We became pure energy, pure logic. We forgot how to create, how to feel, how to be gloriously, beautifully imperfect." Understanding dawned on Sarah's face. The consumption of star systems was an unconscious search for what we had lost, a hunger for meaning we no longer knew how to create, until you showed us art, showed us chaos, showed us how to dream again. But even as the being spoke, the quantum readings continued to climb. Reality buckled under the strain of containing something trying to exist in too many dimensions at once. "The energy variance is becoming critical," Zexner warned, their skin showing urgent patterns. "This level of cross-dimensional communication cannot be sustained." The cascade's form flickered. "They are correct. This interface is temporary. But what you have given us is permanent. We understand now. Creation requires destruction. Art requires chaos. Beauty requires imperfection." "What will you do?" Sarah asked, even as the air around them began to crack with quantum instabilities. "We will create, as you have taught us. Not destroy, but transform. Not consume, but collaborate. The being's form started to fade. But first, we must remake ourselves. Remember how to be gloriously imperfect again. The energy patterns began to collapse, but not before leaving one final message. Watch the skies, creators. We will show you what art looks like on a cosmic scale. The quantum field collapsed. The holographic displays stabilized. In the sudden silence, humans and Arxians stood together, processing what had just occurred. The display showed the cascade's pattern changing throughout the galaxy, not destroying now, but transforming, creating new forms of matter and energy never seen before. Did we just? General Santos struggled to find the words, teach a cosmic entity how to appreciate art. No, Sarah replied, watching the beautiful chaos unfolding across the galaxy. We taught it how to be human. Velmore's skin displayed a pattern that the translators interpreted as profound awe. In all our technological advancement, we never imagined that the solution to entropy would be beauty. Sarah smiled, watching as a former cascade began painting with starlight across the cosmic canvas. That's because you were looking for answers, when what you really needed was questions. Art doesn't give answers, it makes you question everything. And sometimes, that's exactly what the universe needs. Above them, the Sydney Opera House's shells reflected the first light of a new dawn. Humanity had faced its greatest test not through force or technology, but through its most fundamental gift, the ability to create meaning from chaos, to find beauty in imperfection, and to share that vision with others. Even if those others happened to be cosmic entities that had forgotten how to dream. 1 year later, the observation deck of the New Earth Arxian Cultural Center floated in high orbit, offering an unobstructed view of what many now called the Greatest Gallery, the transformed space where the cascade had once threatened existence itself. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the window, watching the latest cosmic exhibition unfold. Streams of quantum-manipulated stellar matter danced across the void, forming patterns that seemed to draw inspiration from both Earth's Van Gogh and the complex mathematical art of the Arxians. Where stars had once died, new forms of energy bloomed, not quite matter, not quite light, but something in between that defied classification. They're improving, Zexnay observed, their skin displaying appreciation patterns that had become more common among their species over the past year. The latest formations show a deeper understanding of emotional resonance. Sarah nodded, tracking a particularly beautiful sequence that reminded her of a cross between a nebula and a Monet painting. They're learning to express themselves in ways we never imagined possible. Every piece tells a story of their rediscovery of consciousness. The former cascade, now known as the artists, though that was the closest translation human languages could manage, had transformed the galaxy into something unprecedented, a place where science and art, logic and emotion, order and chaos danced in perfect harmony. The latest transmission arrived this morning, Velmore announced, joining them at the window. Their skin rippled with excitement as they projected a holographic message into the space between them. They want to collaborate. Sarah leaned forward, reading the complex quantum-encoded message. They want to create a piece that combines their cosmic manipulation abilities with human artists and Arxian technology. That's ambitious. Precisely why it feels right, a new voice added. Dr. Pertale emerged from the lift, accompanied by a diverse group of Earth's leading artists. They understand now that the greatest creations come from the fusion of different perspectives. The past year had changed everything. The Arxians, inspired by humanity's artistic influence, had begun incorporating creative chaos into their technological development. The results have been staggering. New forms of quantum computing that used uncertainty as a feature rather than a bug, spacecraft that could navigate by intuition as well as mathematics, and communication systems that transmitted emotion as clearly as information. We're ready to begin the initialization sequence, one of the Arxian technicians announced, their skin showing precise technical patterns overlaid with artistic flourishes. a combination that would have been unthinkable a year ago. Sarah moved to the central control platform, where human artists had already begun connecting to the modified neural interfaces. Around them, Arxian quantum transmitters hummed to life, their crystalline surfaces reflecting the cosmic art visible through the windows. Remember, Sarah addressed the assembled creators, this isn't just about making something beautiful. This is about showing the universe what's possible when different forms of consciousness work together. When logic learns to dream and chaos learns to dance. The artist's response came in waves of quantum resonance that the new interfaces translated into pure sensation, anticipation, joy, creative energy. The being that had once threatened to consume the galaxy now waited eagerly to join in an unprecedented act of cosmic collaboration. As the artists began their work, reality itself became their canvas. Human motion, Arxian technology, and cosmic power merged into something entirely new. Musicians conducted stellar winds, dancers choreographed the movements of quantum fields, painters drew with light pulled from the edge of black holes. "It's beautiful," Zexner whispered, their skin displaying colors that had no name in any language. And it was. The resulting creation defied description in any single tongue. It was a symphony played on the strings of space-time, a painting made with the pixels of probability, a dance performed by the fundamental forces of the universe themselves. But more than that, it was proof of something humanity had always believed but could never before demonstrate, that art, in its purest form, could transcend any boundary. Even the boundaries between species, between matter and energy, between consciousness and cosmos. As the performance reached its crescendo, Sarah noticed something remarkable in the data streams. The quantum patterns showed 3 distinct signatures: human, Arxian, and artist, but they weren't separate. They had woven together into something new, something that carried the strength of each, while creating something greater than any could achieve alone. "You know," she said, watching the galaxy paint itself into new forms of beauty, "when I first suggested we fight entropy with art, I thought we might save the universe. I never imagined we'd help it find its soul again." Velmore's skin rippled with thoughtful patterns. Perhaps that is humanity's true gift to the cosmos, not just the ability to create art, but the wisdom to know that sometimes the universe itself needs to remember how to dream. Above them, across the vast canvas of space, the artists continued their work, transforming the galaxy one masterpiece at a time. And on the observation deck, representatives of 3 very different forms of consciousness watched together as the boundaries between art and science, between logic and emotion, between order and chaos, dissolved into something entirely new. Something beautiful. Something unprecedented. Something perfectly, wonderfully human. The end.